All right, so it's April 1st, 2026. Happy birthday, Brent. Um, this is going to be my round three recap. So we just going to talk about March. Um, I feel like I won, but I'll decide when I'm done with this whether I won or not. But starting off, I feel like I won, but I'm going to run through it. Fresh squeezed lemonade, fire. All right, so March started off. I was on the tail end of the trip, Houston. So I was actually in Houston for the first 3 days of March. I came home for a few days. And then I went to Georgia to help my mom with some stuff. Left Georgia, went to St. Louis, ended up staying in St. Louis for a few days. Had a decent time in St. Louis. Then I got my kids for spring break, took them to Michigan. So I was gone the majority of the month. Michigan, it was a good trip. I felt like my kids had fun. Me and Mac had our first kind of almost man-to-man conversation. We went to Red Robin this year for his birthday. Last year, he had me take him to Culver's. So next year, I think he said we going to Texas Roadhouse. But anyway, so, spending time with my kids, spending time with my family, seeing my sister, brother-in-law, nephews, all of that. I like Michigan. I just don't like the cold. Actually, I love Michigan. Let me be real. I love Michigan. I love the people in Michigan. I just don't like being cold. So I can go to Michigan when it's not cold. It was cold, like part of the time we was there. But overall, it was a good experience. So kind of like surprised when because I take my scale with me now, because I didn't do that last year. And then every time I went on vacation, I would come back from vacation and I regressed, like whatever progress I made when I was at home, I lose it whenever I went on vacation. And I don't want to stop going on vacation, but I also don't want to regress every time I go on vacation. So what was the solution? Take my scale, hold myself accountable. So I was actually surprised, like my weight stayed consistent and I was gone the majority of the month. So I went into March 246.6 and I'm going into April 246.8. And that's being gone 3 weeks out of the month, not having a consistent routine, not really worrying about my diet, not really focusing on intermittent fasting, just not trying to fall completely off the rails and be somewhat mindful of the stuff that I need to do as far as what I ate, and then intermittent fasting, but really didn't prioritize any of those things this month. So I kind of felt like that kid that know they was supposed to get a whooping and then you ain't get the whooping. But I know my behavior last month doesn't warrant like me to really feel good about it, from a standpoint of I could have done so much better and so much more. But it didn't really cost me anything. So I'm not the kid that need to get a whooping to learn my lesson. I learned my lesson last month. Now, the cool part about it, even though it's just like 0.2 of a pound, it's still regression. So that means obviously I had a month. I got through January and February where it was positives, but even though it's slight, I still got to consider March regression, because my weight is more than it was when I went into the month, but not too much. So I'm excited about April. I do have a little bit of a break before I need to travel again. And I still travel this month. I'm going to Georgia this month. I'm going to Michigan this month. So travel has become a very consistent part of my life, and I'm getting better at traveling. I'm also getting better at vacationing. So I'm learning, growing, implementing different things, learning different things. So when I look back over the month, after I came back from Michigan and came back to Vegas, before I even got back, when I dropped my kids off in St. Louis that Sunday, I already started feeling like I was getting sick. So last year, I think I got sick like 4 times. And every time I didn't sit my ass down. So I was determined this time not to repeat my past mistakes. So it started Sunday. I flew home Monday. I knew I was sick. Well, at that point, I knew I was getting sick, but I still was hoping that I wouldn't get sick because I just had a little bit of soreness in my throat. Felt my glands swelling up, lymph nodes, and all this. So by Tuesday, it's like, okay, I'm sick. But as soon as I started feeling sick, I have this book called Home Apothecary or whatever. So it's like natural remedies. So I did the little honey joint with the garlic and ginger and lemon and all of that. But that gotta sit to infuse for 3 days. So it wasn't gonna be any use. But ultimately, I just rested. You know, the stuff that we told to do, but I never do. What I always do is chill enough to feel like, okay, I can get back to doing whatever I'm doing, but never really just sit down and get better. So I tried to do that this time. So the cold wasn't as bad as it normally gets, and it didn't last as long as it normally lasts, So I learned, but needless to say, my point is that was the end of the month. So I traveled the majority of the month, and then when I got home, I was sick the majority of the time that I was at home. So I may have had a couple days where I was feeling better since I've been back. And I did my walk, but I didn't do anything else. So I haven't recorded. I haven't done the push-ups, the squats, the dips, none of that. It just really been sitting around, resting. And other than that, like I said, I would still do my walk. So I'm back to doing my normal lap. So I've been doing like the short lap for a long time because of the issues with my feet. I keep saying the Brooks, like, it's not perfect, but it makes it where I'm not in pain all of the time. And the pain is not as bad. I mean, it's still there, but it's not preventing me from doing the things that I want and need to do like it was before. So I'm back to doing my normal lap, which is 4.5 miles instead of doing a 2.5 mile lap because my feet hurt. So happy about that. So I mean, even like I said at the beginning, I think I won. And then talking through it, yeah, I won. Like I got to spend time with my family throughout the month. I had some good experiences. I didn't really have like too many negative experiences. You know, it's always going to be conversations where somebody say something to get on your nerves or something simple like that, but nothing major. And now I'm back home, and I got a few weeks that I can just buckle down and get back to the whole routine instead of just walking. So yeah, I feel like I won. So I'm up. I almost burned myself reaching for this little remote. All right. So anyway, we 3 rounds in and I'm up 3-0. Like I said last year, this year was gonna be better. And I still won last year, but it was really close. I'm trying to make sure this year is not close. So the positive is I almost like, I know I should have got a whooping. I know I should have had more regression than I had this month, considering I basically took the month off as far as everything other than walking. Like, I haven't prioritized. So April, so let's say March, again, was a win. Got momentum. We up 3-0. But it wasn't a spectacular round. It's just, I mean, did what I was supposed to. Got through the round without getting hurt. You know, established whatever I needed to establish to win the month, and I did. So that is my round 3 recap for March of 2026.